Rugby pilgrimage visited the home of rugby. We cannot describe how fortunate we were to be invited. We were asked to play for the Injured Players Foundation tournament with the Midlands Barbars. The Midland Barbars were the top fundraising side, so we got to use the England changing rooms. Walking in was a surreal experience. The facilities were incredible. Nothing on Barton and District though. We took a stroll straight out onto the pitch to take in the view and the atmosphere. The pitch was in beautiful nick, reminded me of Moulton and Norton. After a look around, it was time to go and get ready. Our shirts in the traditional Barbars colours. A walk through the game plan and a brief from Coach Rob Petty. And a toast with a drop of port before heading out to warm up. Try not to get too excited by all the lunges and press-ups you see here. We travelled down on Saturday night before the tournament and we had a couple of beers. Just a couple, nothing silly, but who can honestly say they've never played rugby without a hangover? Big Fran leads the side out for our first game against Wimbledon RFC. And a stretcher coming on 2 minutes later. I'll explain that in a moment. First, we must appreciate this hit. Bash! That really threw the marker down for the whole tournament. And here's Leachy going over the line for the first try of the day. Right, I'll explain the stretcher. In the opening minute, our back row Wardy fell backwards out the ruck and damaged his knee. And he did a real proper job. We're talking MCL, PCL, ACL and meniscus damage. How's your luck? The poor bloke, wishing him a speedy recovery. And here's Adam getting his hands on the ball. Makes a nice little break. The defender won't hear the end of that one. A little offloads. Ball comes out to Titchy. He has a man over. Will he use him? A little dummy. Is that forward? Who cares? And over for a great score. Keeping up with these lads was hard work. First game down, 28-0 to the Barbars. We entered two sides into the tournament. The emojis you just saw and the Silhillians coming out now. Led out here with the Jack Jeffries shirt. A lad who passed away whilst playing for Evesham. The IPF raises money for such families in awful circumstances like that. And here we see the Seals versus the Rams from Reading. And Barber buying a dummy. We won't let him forget about that one. The Rams threw the ball around. They were a strong, powerful side. And I think the Seals might have been regretting that late night gin and tonic at the bar. Special mention to Jim Roper, who dyed his hair to look like Slim Shady, called himself Jim Shady. Jim organised the day and did an incredible job. Absolute top bloke. And there's no need for this in Vets rugby. Sidesteps from his own 22, round the fullback. See you later. There's Barbs trying to chase him. Absolutely no chance. Great score. Back-to-back fixtures for the Seals as they got a thumping in the first game against Teddington. He's through 2-on-1. Little dummy butchers it and then he makes it over the line. I wouldn't be buying him a pint if I was that winger anytime soon. He could have put him in for an easy score at Twickenham but kept the glory all for himself. Outrageous, but I would have definitely done the same thing. A few mentions to the clubs that made up the Midlands Barbars. Evesham, Silhillians, Bourneville, Woodrush, Moseley Oak, Camp Hill, Harbury, Bedworth, Edwardians, Helsonians and the Rugby Pilgrimage representing Lutterworth. 3 training sessions and a warm-up game before on to Twickenham. Real quality through the ranks and some serious experience. As we see Evesham's lot going in for the score there. Second game and it was a win for the Barbars. Back to the emojis with their opposition, Wasps. No, that's not a mistake. They were playing Wasps. A much harder fixture and a really close game. The lads tell me it was exhausting. And it's a good time to thank Silhillians who hosted all the training sessions and did the bulk of the organising. Now, if the emojis can win this game, they go through to the final. It was a charity day, but they were there to win. Ball up in the air, catches it and runs with intent. A little offloads and tries to run through his man. 7-0 win for the Seals and they go through to the final. And here we have the Super Vets game, Blue against Red. This is a game for anyone aged over 50. Absolutely incredible. Sides split into 2, bibs on and away they went. Fair play to every single one of them. Having all now played 30 minutes of rugby, the tournament was split into playoffs, 5th versus 6th, 4th versus 3rd, and then the final. The Seals with one win got themselves into the 3rd, 4th playoff, and the Emojis were in the final. In the battle for 3rd, the opposition was Wasps, an opposition we already knew were tough. And Wasps go 5-0 up. Now, it doesn't really matter if it's a friendly or for charity, there's always going to be handbags, as Fran demonstrates beautifully here. Silhillians got involved because of Lee Jones, or Window to his mates. He was a Silhillians RFC player, and 8 years ago he suffered a catastrophic injury, leaving him paralysed from the chest down. He's since been an incredible influence on the Seals and the wider game. He was named BBC Sports Personality Volunteer of the Year, and he's now the Silhillians chairman. Now, in the tournament final, we see the Emojis take on the Rams and get the first score, 7-0. And back to Lee, who's a trustee of the Injured Players Foundation and does lots of work raising money so injured players can live comfortable lives after serious rugby injuries. And the Emojis take the win on the day, 7-0. Listening to Lee's story, we were impressed and inspired to help them with their fundraising targets. And being involved and winning this tournament was the icing on the cake. Brilliant spirits in the bar. And here's Jim picking up the cup. Now, that's a title we definitely want to be back to defend next year. A few more drinks, some food, and that was it. Time to go. Thanks for having us, Twickenham. We hope to see you again next year.